Breaking news today as the Noles land a three-star cornerback, a prospect out of South Florida, and they add to their defensive recruiting class in this 2024 cycle. Let's jump right into it. Ricky Knight. He's a prospect, again, out of Palm Beach Gardens. He attends the Benjamin School. He's a 6'1", 168-pound prospect, a three-star cornerback, again, North Palm Beach, Florida. He's a three-star. He's the 78th overall aspect. He's got an 87 overall grade from 247. He's number 405 nationally in the composite. He is a top 100 player in Florida. On3 has him as a top 500 player nationally, 48th best cornerback. Rivals actually has him as a four-star. Florida State beat out Miami, Illinois, and Louisville. Knight is a project type prospect. I don't think he's a come in and be a day one type starter for the Noles by any means, but I do think that his athleticism, his size, and his length make him incredibly intriguing. This really came down to Florida State and Miami. We're going to talk about that head-to-head battle in just a moment, but there's a reason the Noles and the Canes desperately wanted him in their class. I know that sometimes we look at a three-star and we say, oh, man, that's just a three-star. It's not a blue chip, this, that. I get that. But there's a reason that Miami and Florida State went absolutely head-to-head for this kid and fought to the bitter end. I've heard some stories. We've shared some things in our Discord about this recruitment. Certainly was a battle down to the end. Florida State was able to hold off Miami, and we'll talk about Mike Norvell stuffing Mario Cristobal in a locker here in just a moment. 33 tackles last year, did have an interception in his junior season. He took his official visit to Illinois on June 9th. He was at Florida State on the 16th, and then he was at Miami on the 23rd, just a little over a week ago. Really, really good job by FSU closing despite the Canes getting that last visit. Have a little bit of insight on that head-to-head. Again, we'll talk about that in just a moment. But Knight is a really, really intriguing corner prospect. I think he could potentially play nickel in FSU's defense. He's very competitive. He's very tough. He's a long and tall athlete. Like we mentioned his size. We have him listed at 6 foot. I've seen him measured at 6'1". Not super quick, but incredibly physical, incredibly lengthy, and the kind of guy that if he can be developed through not only his senior year here that he'll play, but also under a guy like Pat Surtain. I know that Pat was brought in for not only recruiting, but also to develop guys. His intangibles are absolutely off the charts. And I think that's what Florida State likes about him. You can't teach 6'1" for a corner. He's got a really nice frame that I think could fill out a little bit. And again, not the fastest guy, not the quickest guy. He's not an elite speedster by any means, but a guy that will just absolutely dog wide receivers all the way up and down the field. He's got a ton of physicality and toughness in him, and I think Florida State really likes that. The trendy or cliche things to say about guys now is they've got that dog in them. We've tried to not use that on this channel a whole lot, but Ricky Knight absolutely has that. And I think that's what drew both Florida State and Miami to him. Okay, I want to talk about this late push by Miami. Just before we do that, I do want to give some love to our friends over at Garnet and Gold. Ricky Knight chose the Garnet and Gold over the Canes, so we'll give them a little bit of love. I like that pun there on that transition, Harlan. Florida State's best athletic retailer on the planet, garnetandgold.com is where you should be ordering all of your FSU merchandise and gear. Hey, coaches' polos are in. The jerseys are in. It is just around the corner from fall camp. We're less than a month away from August. Go get your gear at garnetandgold.com. Use code NOSLAW, NOSLAW, to save 15% at garnetandgold.com. Okay. After his FSU official visit, a couple of crystal balls went in by both Zach Blostein of Noles 247 and Steve Wiltfong. I'm told by a couple of folks that Miami basically threw the kitchen sink at this kid. Obviously, he visited there after those predictions went in. They did that both on the official visit that he took there on the 23rd and afterward in the week leading up to this commitment. But Mario just couldn't match up what the Noles were offering, and Florida State took home the commitment. I think this is especially intriguing when you consider that this is a South Florida prospect. The distance between he and Miami's campus and he and Florida State's campus is incredibly different. I think that Florida State uh, really put their best foot forward here and showed through what they've got, both at a coaching perspective and a physical on the field play perspective, that Florida State is the right place for Knight. Again, I think Miami pretty heavily went all in on this and really wanted to pull Knight. I think they kind of got that bat signal or got that alert from both Wiltfong and Blaustein that, hey, the Noles are serious here and this is a big time recruitment. And even with that little bit of a tip that they put in those crystal balls, those projections, Miami still couldn't overcome that and still couldn't find a way to get back to the lead in this recruitment. Head-to-head recruiting wins with Miami are a must-win for the Seminoles right now. And I know the longevity of the program. I understand that Miami is going to win their fair share of recruiting battles, and that's totally fine. But this isn't the first one, and it certainly won't be the last time that Miami and Florida State go head-to-head. Shoot, it's not even going to be the last time this cycle, as they're in it for some other kids as well. But Miami was absolutely trash on the field last year, and they're going to be just as bad this year. Meanwhile, the Noles won 10 games last year, and they're going to win at least 10 again this year if everything goes according to plan and projection. They're also going to win their third straight game against Miami. I know it's July 1st, but yes, we're projecting that Florida State is going to win their third straight in a row in the series against the Canes. And when that's all true and that's all the case, you've got to win these head-to-head battles. The battles that Florida State should struggle in recruiting right now are against the Clemsons and the Georgias and the Alabamas of the world, the Ohio States, the Michigans. Those are ones you understand. You can't be losing the battles to Miami right now, who is an absolute dumpster fire on and off the field. Pat Surtain deserves a ton of credit here, and a good amount of this does come down to relationships and where guys think that they can be developed. Pat Surtain was brought in to develop prospects like this, and I really think that he will do a good job with Ricky Knight. Again, not a day one guy by any means, but a guy that in Pat Surtain's system, in this Florida State defense, surrounded by other ballers, can do really special things. I like what Florida State has done back-to-back years in their cornerback classes. We anticipate more good news to come from Florida State's defensive back recruiting. We've got some commitment videos lined up, ready to go for other guys in this class, and we continue to expect Florida State to trend in a positive direction there. But last year, they brought in Edwin Joseph and Conrad Hussey, who I know they're very excited about. Kenton Kirkland's another name that we've heard an absolute ton about. And they are certainly rebuilding the defense with the secondary being a forefront, with the secondary being a key area that they are focusing on. And certainly you need to do a better job in the front seven and recruiting. But defensive back recruiting at Florida State has always been a primary focus, and Knight is no exception to that. I think that with some development, he can absolutely get in and be a solid to very good piece for this defense in the long term. I think that learning under Pat Surtain is going to be a huge key for him. And we all know the kind of players that Pat has developed over his time as a coach, both in high school, college, and the NFL. The cornerback class is coming together really nicely. We still hear really good things about other high-level defensive back targets in this class, and the Seminoles are trending for more targets here in July. We've shared who a lot of those are on this channel, and we've shared even more insight in our Discord. Again, that Discord is free to join, so go sign up at the link in the description if you want even more FSU content on an hourly basis. Defensive recruiting in general has some work to do to catch up where the offensive side of the ball is, but Florida State has several months to work on that and continue to work on high-profile targets, which can continue to help the recruiting on that side of the ball tremendously. Want to know the most likely prospects to pick the Noles next and who they are? Click right here to find out more.